It is 6 a.m. on a Monday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA playoffs saw the Celtics, Clippers, Bucks, Thunder all take a 1-0 series lead yesterday. Trio of game twos with Cleveland hosting the Orlando Magic. Knicks, who are up 1-0, facing Philly in game two. And the Nuggets look to go 2-up on the Lakers. Damian Lillard yesterday in game one of the Bucks and Pacers series dropped 35 in the first half to lead the way for Milwaukee. Coming up in hour number 3, we're going to talk to a friend of the program, Aaron Fentress from the Oregonian. But a big weekend that was, big show ahead. Rip City Mornings on a Monday starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. And a very happy Monday. It is RCM. I am your host, Justin Myers, super producer Brenden, safely partitioned on the other side of the glass. Thanks for getting up early with us or staying up late, however you are rolling on this particular Monday. We got a lot of stuff to dive into on the big show today. Full weekend of playoff basketball. Full weekend of playoff basketball. I think for the first time, Blazer fans, we saw the guy we gave up. I think for the first time in 2 years, we saw the guy we gave up. There he was in a different uniform. You know, it's like. By the way, happy Monday, Brenden. How was the weekend?
Busy
weekend. I also had a fairly busy weekend. That was my own doing. You actually had some work to do.
But now I remember last week when there was the thing around our station where they're like, chat is free. Well, spring football's over. So now Brendan's a little more free, too. So I'm excited for that.
I had a lot of stuff going on this weekend as well. We may dive into that later on. I know we do Grumpy Old Man, Get Off My Lawn tomorrow, but I might have to yell at some clouds.
Oh, you feeling grumpy today? All right.
Well, it was something I went to a concert on Saturday, and it was at the Crystal Ballroom, which is a great venue. It was a very affordable concert.
But Justin has some thoughts, folks.
I don't know if I can do that ever.
Trust me, he led into it this morning. He's got some thoughts.
And also because you know me as...
I like to think I do these days.
Someone who, when I go into situations, I'm constantly observing. It's just the way I always am. I am observing. I am obsessed. What is your MO? What is your plan here? What is your motivation? And I always think when I'm in a big crowd, I want to go like, why are you acting the way you were? And I've made some declarations. I'm painting with some broad brushes coming up a little bit later because I have found out who the worst people in the world are. Go to a concert where there is only general admission, take a look around, and you will find who the worst people in the world is. So we'll talk about that. But let's talk about Dame. We got to start off the show. We're 3 minutes in. We're going to talk about Oregon State's spring showcase. We're going to talk about other big performances in game ones all over the weekend. NFL draft is just now, 4 days away? Thursday, the first round of the NFL draft. Tom Brady, again, throwing out hints. But we start with Dame. 35 points in the first half. Now, didn't need to score in the second half, but 35 points in the first half. And then Dame, of course, in perfect Damian Lillard, built for the moment fashion, hits a big shot. Milwaukee fans are going ballistic. He turns to the crowd, knowing exactly where the camera is because he's that savvy, and gives that's why you brought me here. I don't know how to feel this morning. I am so unbelievably torn. Because on one hand, if I'm being open and honest, I perfectly understand why Damian Lillard asked for a trade last summer. Perfectly understand. Now, it was a little bit tough because he made his brand off of loyalty. I don't run from the grind. Loyalty, right? He made his brand off of loyalty. And if we're being honest, we as fans, or I'll just speak for me as a fan, probably elevated him up alongside other Portland Trail Blazer greats who A, won championships, or B, played in the NBA Finals, and we're at an MVP level, whereas Dame has never played for a championship, and I believe he should have been in the MVP discussion and was unfairly kept out, but was never in that. He was never in the Clyde Drexler discussion. Clyde Drexler in 1992 was a legitimate MVP candidate. Bill Walton in 1977, I think he was the MVP. I wasn't born yet, but I think he was the league's MVP. But I think we have elevated Dame in terms of greatest Blazer of all time. A, recency bias, but B, because in an era of selfishness, which not a criticism, is simply an observation, right? In the NBA, you have a chance to go make money. Why should you be loyal to a team? No team has ever been loyal to a player. Well, at least very rarely. We watched The Last Dance. The Bulls weren't even loyal to Michael Jordan, who made them all gajillionaires. So
I mean, you're thinking like probably Kobe and the Lakers getting big time money when he was not.
I'm thinking Mavericks and Dirk.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Mavericks were loyal to Dirk towards the end.
But real quick, your point on that, like, and even this is a point that I've seen evolve and change, and just compared to like when Dame left to now, because I've seen it a bit more. Justin, whether it's Dame, whether it's college athletes, I think there's less and less loyalty in sports. And to your point, Dame did build his brand on loyalty. But we've seen college players now build their brands on loyalty. I just think you can't so much take it personally with your team.
No.
Because I don't think there's any loyalty in sports hardly at all anymore.
I understand you can't take it personally. I agree with that. But I think my overall point was that I think we have elevated, or we did elevate Damian Lillard in terms of his lore, his legacy, everything as a Portland Trailblazer was put up probably higher than his accomplishments because A, flair for the dramatic. Two of the greatest shots in Portland Trailblazer history. Don't need to tell anybody else about that. But B, in an era where player empowerment is become a thing, he seemed to be the one guy that was like, no, I'm not running from the grind. I want to win it here in Portland. And then ultimately that loyalty was put to the test over and over again. So that was why I brought up I have no problem with Damian Lillard last summer asking for a trade. Who among us would not have asked for a trade if you have the ability, you have the power? I mean, the Blazers darn near dared him to. I know you want to win now. I know you are getting to the championship window in your career, getting smaller and smaller, but we're going to continue to get younger and younger and rebuild and rebuild. And the Blazers darn near dared him to ask for a trade last summer. So again, I understand it. But it felt weird because this was a guy who was constantly saying, no, I want to be here. I want to be here. I want to be here. Maybe one day down the road, we'll find out exactly what happens summer of 2023. I don't think we ever will, but maybe one day we will. That being said, I understand why he asked for a trade. Matter of fact, kind of think he should have. Who among us in that situation would not have been like, I think it's time for us to part ways? All that being said, that didn't feel good yesterday. I'm just going to be perfectly honest. That didn't feel good. You ever had a breakup and it turns out you look back and go, you know what? That breakup was for the best. The breakup was for the best. It wasn't working. It had grown. We'd grown resentful. It was time for both of us to move on. And then Facebook does what Facebook does, or Instagram does what Instagram does, which is the evil overlords of the tech world pop your exes in front of your face. And you go like, whoa, that's what they're doing now? That's kind of how it felt last night. Or yesterday afternoon, or whatever we call it. But it felt weird. Didn't feel good. Because we've seen that look in his eye. We have seen those step-back threes. We have seen that moment where you're like, because I talk about it all the time with the NBA. Star power matters. And when you watch NBA games, especially in the postseason, the stars pop off the screen. You can't help but notice the stars. Even if you are not the biggest NBA fan and sitting at a sports bar and kind of casually watching the TV in the corner. The stars pop off the screen. Damian Lillard popped off the screen yesterday. It was like, yep, he was owning it. He was owning the moment. He was the best player on the court. Now, that's game one. That's one half of one game. I don't know if maybe something has ignited in him. I don't know if this was kind of the whole plan, right? Which is I'm here for the postseason. And who knows? Because, Brenden, we talked about it last week. This is why you brought Damian Lillard in, which is what he did yesterday. If you were the Milwaukee Bucks, this is why you give up on Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday might win an NBA championship with the Boston Celtics. Drew Holiday might be the best perimeter defender in the league. Fair? Perimeter defender? He's in the discussion.
Yeah, for sure.
Drew Holiday was a big piece of Milwaukee to give up. The reason why you did, because nobody else on that team before Dame got there was capable of doing what he did in the first half with Giannis out. With Giannis in, maybe. Chris Middleton's had big games, right? Portis has had some big games, but
Drew Holiday can go off, but it's just not like his. It's not his game, right? His game, as you just mentioned, is defense. So you upgrade, but at the same token, Justin, one thing that we're starting to see in doing that, in getting Damian Lillard, did you create the monster in Boston, kind of by cause and effect?
Yeah, and we'll find out down the road. But I do think, in the most simplistic of terms, game one at home. Giannis is out. Bucks fans are probably very, very nervous. And it's like, oh, we got that guy. That's right. That's why we got that guy for that particular reason. Now, we'll see what happens the rest of the series. It's going to be fascinating. And it also kind of felt like Dame was like, yep, this is why I am here. Had to feel refreshing after 2 years of tanking. 2 years of tanking with the Blazers probably got to feel refreshing to go into a playoff game and knowing like, I actually got a chance. I will say this, though, as a Blazer fan, didn't feel good. It's fun to watch, and for a moment, I was like, oh, there's our guy. Oh, no, he's not our guy anymore. You know? It's like, oh, there's our girl on Instagram. Oh, no, not ours anymore. Matter of fact, somebody else's. All right. Other things we're going to dive into. Tom Brady hinting at potentially a comeback again. Got the NFL draft coming up. Quarterback talk continuing to swirl. Plus, the spring showcase in Corvallis on Saturday. Did the Beavers miss an opportunity with doing what they have always done before? And is that going to count anymore? Talk about that next. 620 Rip City Radio. Right. Growing up in the great state of Oregon, and we've talked about this multiple times, without an NFL team, and I know the Seahawks are close, but when I was growing up, the Seahawks weren't any good. And so you didn't have it. Your NFL team was just kind of who was really good when you were 9. But when you picked your allegiance, usually the first allegiance you pick in this great state, you pick Oregon or Oregon State. It's one of the things that made the rivalry as fiery as it was because it consumed an entire state. Whether you were people like Brenden, who actually attended said university, or you were people like me, who just grew up as a fan. You chose sides. You usually chose sides by about age 6 or 7. Usually it had to do with a family lineage. Sometimes it had to do with where you grew up. There's an old joke. I don't know if it's very funny, but there's an old joke that what's the difference between culture and agriculture? It's about 40 miles, right? Ha! It's the old joke. Because the other great thing about the Civil War rivalry that's sadly still hanging around, but not exactly what it was. The other great thing was it was City Mouse, Country Mouse, right? Are you an Oregon State hick or are you an Oregon hippie? Heard them all. Heard them all. And for a long, long time, I think there was, and Brenden, you can feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a sense in Corvallis of Oregon is flash. We are substance. They're the rich kids just throwing their money around. We don't do what they do. We don't do the way they do. We don't have to. We don't have to throw our money around and buy billboards and everything else. We're about boots on the ground, sometimes literal boots, grassroots. That's the way we do things. We don't do things the way that Oregon does. That's them. We are us. And it's, I think, a huge part of every rivalry is to kind of have a cultural divide. Unfortunately for Oregon State, it might be time, and maybe even past time, to maybe look a little bit at Oregon and go like, maybe we could do some of that. And I bring up the Spring Showcase. The Spring Showcase. Now, Oregon State had the end of spring open to the public. They called it a Spring Showcase. And it was kind of a game. Brenden, you were there. I understand numbers are down. I understand there's a whole thing with the offensive line, but because of the transfer portal. So it was 10-7, but it didn't sound like it was much of a scrimmage as opposed to kind of a interesting scoring system game within a game.
I've been to every spring game since 2014. This is the closest I've seen. I mean, that's as far back as I can remember anyway. Closest I've seen to a game. Period.
To an actual game.
Yeah, period. I mean,
they actually put the score up on the board.
Yeah,
usually they never did that before.
Yeah, there's no. I mean, and again, just recent bias. There's no memory in my mind of any Jonathan Smith game that was ever scoring. I mean, it was by the letter of the law. Like that team was that side, that team was that side. Quarterbacks and linemen rotated. So,
and I've been on the record. I said this during Jonathan Smith's run. I said I feel like this is always a wasted opportunity. I was like, I don't know why you would. And I understand the logic, right? There's paper and then there's reality, right? On paper, spring game, you have a chance at injury. Why would you have guys running live tackling drills in a game that technically doesn't matter? And I've always said, spring game is more than just a practice. And I know that it is one. I think you get 15 or how many spring practices you get? About
15.
You have 15 spring practices, and to waste one with a scrimmage for the fans, some coaches.
But who says 15, Just? Is that the NC2A?
Oh, you're right. Why not just practice all year round?
Yeah, like how come George is like, yeah, we're just going to do 20 practices, and if you don't like it, then.
But that's what.
I mean, tell me, right?
That's what Arizona State did, right? Didn't they recently just kind of wrap up their whole thing?
Yeah.
I think that was a little bit of what Michigan was involved with as well. Anyways. We don't have time to do that.
Justin loves to say, like, if the NCAA has no teeth, what are rules? What is eligibility? What is, set number of practices? I'm just saying.
It's true. It is true. It's like you go to a grocery store, right? And everybody just kind of gets in the aisle and like, why? Because we've always done it this way. And if you did it a different way, you're like, whoa. But technically there's no rule against it. Yeah. But I've always said spring game is supposed to be an opportunity to showcase your program, to build the culture. It's not about really getting better as a football team. It is the spring game is about building your culture. Fair warning to Oregon State fans who are listening. And by the way, if you are, thank you. I know you guys don't like me. But to Oregon State fans that are listening, I'm going to talk a little bit about Oregon football because I was there on the ride from Bellotti to Chip to Helfrich to Taggart to Mario to Dan Lanning and the evolution of the Oregon spring game, which, by the way, is going to be happening on Saturday, and it's going to be an actual game. Bellotti always kind of ran a scrimmage, and they had tried some things like when they first built Volcano Stadium there off in Kaiser, Oregon ran a spring game there. They ran a spring game one year when they first built the Hillsborough Stadium out near Ron Tonkin Field. I don't know what the football part of it is.
Beavers have done that. Early, yeah.
Early is where it's like, hey, we've got the people in Eugene. Let's get the people in Portland. And then over the years, as TV came in and college football grew and grew, it then became a green versus yellow. We're picking sides. They tried a spring showcase one time. It fell flat. Nobody liked it. And to Oregon's credit, they made it an event because there was an organization called Food for Lane County, and you didn't have to pay to get in. All you had to do was bring 3 canned food items, and they really didn't even check. But it was a community event, and everybody would get up, and even if the weather was bad, you would bring some canned foods, feel like you did something good, go watch the scrimmage, and then as Oregon got better and better, then it became a salute to the troops. That was kind of Chip Kelly's thing, and all of a sudden, it went from being just one part of the stands is open to, well, there's another part of the stands. Now the end zones will just be, and then all of a sudden they start filling up the stadium. Dan Lanning then took over. And remember when Dan Lanning was hired, it wasn't the biggest home run hire in the world. Dan Lanning took over, and there were some Oregon fans that really wanted Justin Wilcox to leave Cal and to come to Eugene. Don't know how realistic that was. And there was the letter, and there was the former players, and there seemed to be a bit of a kerfuffle going on. It's like, are the old school guys not happy with the new school regime? And in one spring game, Dan Lanning said, hey, how many former players are available to come back and take part in this spring game? A lot? Great. Bring them back. And the fan base came out, and they were like, well, look, he's embracing the past. He isn't like Mike McDonald ripping down all of the murals of everything in the past. He's embracing it. He's ingratiating himself to the fan base. He's one of us, one of us, one of us. And that was a big-time moment for Dan Lanning. Not as a coach with players on the field. It was a big-time moment to tell the fan base, we're all in this together. Now, I realize, and I started off with the joke about the culture and agriculture because I understand that comparing Oregon to Oregon State, especially at this particular point with the whole realignment and everything else, it brings up a lot of emotion. But it doesn't mean, because you don't want to be like the other guy, that they all have bad ideas. Now, I've said for years that I thought it was a mistake for Jonathan Smith not to have a spring showcase or to have an actual spring game, to not make it a big cultural building event. But as Brenden has told me, it's never really been that way.
Interesting.
Riley wasn't into it. And by the way, Chris Peterson wasn't into it at Washington either. Those are the two kind of maybe most influential places that Jonathan Smith came from was at Washington, where they were not in. They didn't run a spring game at Washington either. Chris Peterson really upset the fan base. He's like, no, we're going to run drills, and then you can come watch if you like.
And interestingly enough, Justin, at the exact same time that Oregon State's spring game was going, or showcase, whatever you want to call it, oddly enough, there was a full rowdy spring game going on in East Lansing, Michigan. So go figure, right?
Yeah,
Funny how that works.
Because I guarantee you,
Funny how that works.
If it happened or it didn't, I guarantee you, if Jonathan Smith came in and said, yeah, I don't really feel like doing a spring game, the people at Michigan State go, no, you are.
That may have happened. I'm not kidding. Like that's kind of realistic.
Don't care what you want. This is what we do. Because that's when I talk about football culture. Can you get people to show up to a scrimmage in the middle of spring? Can you? Because it's a chance to kind of galvanize the fan base. And I feel like this was a pretty big missed opportunity in Corvallis. Now, I'm not saying that this is on Trent Bray. Trent Bray's got a tough enough job as it is. The transfer portal is ripping his roster to shreds. He's got to continue to keep the players on his roster. He's got to build a coaching staff continuously, and he has got to probably get into the transfer portal to try to fill some holes. I can understand where Trent Bray, like, the last thing I want to do is organize some event. But you got an athletic department down there, don't you? You got a whole staff of people who, by the way, were able to stay on salary because, well, you won a lawsuit and you're still getting some of that Pac-2 money. What would it have looked like? What would it have looked like if Oregon State and their athletic department months ago, knowing that this was going to be such an important transition time, if months ago they started hitting the phone lines and say, you know what, we're going to have maybe not even a spring game. Maybe you didn't have the numbers to run an actual scrimmage, but you know what we're going to do? We're going to bring back anybody and everybody that cares about this program. I've seen a lot of Oregon State alumni take to social media about transfer portal and frustrations. I know a pretty significant women's basketball player went on Instagram, was like, hey, it's easy to transfer. It's hard. Like, this is the place that shaped me and all. Let's find some Oregon State alum football players. Let's make them captains in hey, defense is going to be captain, but because Dan Lanning kind of stumbled across something in Eugene, which is nostalgia's kind of big now. It's always been big, but nostalgia's kind of big. And the idea that, hey, this is Team Mariota and this is Team Eric Armstead and it's like, oh, I remember those guys. And the people will show up, even if it's a bad game, even if it's kind of a big dull dud. Because I know that Bill Orm wrote about it in the Oregonian, and I thought he made a lot of very good points, which was, they said it was a spring showcase. They delivered a snooze fest. To me, the fight was already lost before. I had talked to Brenden, who is, my opinion, premier Oregon State media member, probably because I talk to him every day, and all the other ones don't like me, but Brenden likes me. We talked last week. I was like, hey, are you going down to Corvallis? What are they doing? And Brenden was like, I don't know. I don't know. Are they going to play a game? Couldn't tell. I know, and I'm not even going because I got a concert to go to next weekend with my own seat. More on that later on the show. But, like, I know that on Saturday, Oregon's going to run a game. They're going to draft team. Now, the difference is one team doesn't have a roster that has been ripped apart. But I know that Oregon's going to play a game. I know there's going to be a post-game concert with Matt Kearney. I know that there's going to be Oregon alumni there, and that on the big screen that we paid so much money for, they're going to have, hey, guys, remember? And I know that social media and marketing and everything else is going to get the word out. This is the event in Eugene. This is what we're doing. There's none of that in Corvallis. There was none of that at Oregon State. And I understand the idea of that's not what we do, Justin. As we've never done that. Great. Maybe it's time to start. Maybe it's time to start. Maybe it's time to mitigate some of the doom and gloom of, like, I don't know where it's going. Well, remember this guy? This is going to be anecdotal, but Brenden, you mentioned your family generations upon generations of Oregon State fans and alumni in the Slaughter family.
And I was the only one there on Saturday.
From grandpa to dad to brothers, cousins. And you talked about how all the time Beaver games were chances. They were like mini Slaughter family reunions.
Not one Saturday a year, not 2 Saturdays, 6 or 7 Saturdays a year.
And
plus the spring game, and yeah.
And no interest in going to the spring game. What do you think the interest level would have been if the teams would have been Ken Simonton against Steven Jackson? Hey, Team Simonton versus Team Jackson. And you could even run a little showcase. It doesn't have to be a full-on game. What if it would have been that? What if it would have been, Team Quiz versus I don't know, who's the most famous defensive player? Who's the big defensive lineman?
Stephen Pius, pretty famous. That's a good question. Defense a little tougher.
It is a little tougher, but was Pius the one that went? Who was the one that went to Corvallis High?
Oh gosh, recently or
am I thinking of an offensive lineman?
Sam Alnu went to Corvallis, but offensive lineman.
Offensive lineman.
Yeah,
sorry.
So like defense, it's a little harder. But to your point, Justin.
But what if it would have been like, hey, Team Simonton versus Team Quiz, and I don't know if Jaquiz Rogers was available or not, but like, let's get on the horn and try. I know Steven Jackson's part of the collective, right? I know that Ken Simonton has always been around. Like, wouldn't it be? Steven Jackson is picking his team, and you do it on Twitter, and you do it on Instagram, and Ken Simonton is picking his team. Like, don't you think that might have drawn a couple thousand more people down there?
Well, and they missed a big opportunity too, Justin, because again, Beaver fans are very kill two birds with one stone type of folks, right? Very let's work smarter and think harder. This is the first, I mentioned all the years that I've been there, Justin, this is the first year that I can remember where they did not piggyback the spring game with a home baseball weekend. Because usually every year it'd be like spring game at noon, Beaver baseball at 3 o'clock. You just make the little walk across and boom, boom. They're on the road this week. And I again, can you pick spring dates? Kind of. I think, and I said when the schedule came out, I think that was a big miss because you would have 3,000 to 5,000 more people who are like, yeah, let's make it a day of it, right? Justin and I talk all the time about, Portland and the Blazers have room to expand because you could, in a dream world, you'd like to make a day of it out of going to Portland, going to the Moda Center.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, I don't know how many Beaver fans were able to make a day out of it for something that was an hour and a half. You know what I mean?
But they make it a fan fest, right? You make it a fan fest.
And they kind of did. They tried.
But did anybody know about it? Tree Falls in the woods, nobody's there. Like, Beavers run a spring showcase and nobody's there. Did they actually really do it? And the point is, like, where was the marketing? Where was the work? Like, the internet's kind of free. You know what I mean? I understand that times are tight and you got to, watch the, the purse strings, right? You got to be real mindful of the budget in the athletic department. I'm not saying spend a bunch of money. I'm saying call your people. Call your people. Hey, can you come back? Can you come back for the spring game? Can you come back and showcase the program? Can you maybe put a social media post out there? Hey, I'm going to be in Corvallis this weekend. I'm assistant coaching the Team Orange. Come hang out. We'll do some autographs after. Take some pictures, all that. Show the fans that you care. Show the fans that you... And I know, I'm going to end it on this. Because I saw a lot of people on social media, and I understand it's emotional. I understand comparing Oregon to Oregon State, it's a fool's errand. I understand all of it. But I saw a lot of people like, nobody, it's meaningless. It doesn't matter anyways. The game doesn't matter. You're making a big deal out of something that doesn't matter. Spring games matter to the programs that matter. I firmly believe that. It matters to the programs that matter. Chance to build your culture. Missed opportunity. We have got Round Ball Rock. I'm not missing that opportunity because that's next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, Saturday and Sunday brought us a full slate of game ones in the NBA. A lot of storylines, also a lot of overreaction. Brenden, before we get into Tesh, week one college football, week one NFL, right? Massive overreactions. Massive overreactions. I wonder where, like, game one NBA playoffs lands in terms of the overreaction. Because if anything, we have learned over the years of actually watching basketball is like, yeah, it's one game. Like, series can turn on a dime. Kind of the old adage is till a road team wins, right? It's not even a series. Easy there, Siri. I said series, not Siri. Siri just popped up. Somebody I've never heard of. No. I got to turn this thing off. Anyways.
Not the move.
Not the move. Anyways. But overreaction in terms of game one, first round.
It's up there.
Because I think this is also a platform where a lot of people, dare I say casuals, start coming as like, oh, yeah, let's watch the playoffs. 8 first-round games yesterday and on Saturday. 8 home wins, some interesting performers, some things to take note of, and a vintage performance by our old guy. Let's talk about it with some Tesh. Here we go. Round ball rock. All right, 8 for 8, by the way. Home teams with the win in game one in the NBA playoffs. A lot of them not particularly close. Probably the most entertaining game on Saturday was the Lakers and the Nuggets. The Lakers hopped up to not a significant lead, but a 32-18 third quarter pretty much ended that. The Lakers look gassed. They look old. Again, don't want to overreact, but want to react. They had no answer to the Denver Nuggets. Brady, you know how many times the Nuggets have beaten the Lakers now consecutively?
It's like 9 times.
9 times,
Yep.
Ferris Bueller. 9
Knew
times.
that going in.
9 consecutive wins, including a 4-game sweep last year in the Western Conference Finals. Jokic dropped in 32, had 12 rebounds. Anthony Davis did have 32 points as well, but the Nuggets take game one. Knicks take game one against the 76ers. I think probably the biggest storyline there. Knicks shot 45% from 3. That's going to be tough to beat. 45% from 3. Anthony Edwards showed up. 33 points, 9 boards as the Timberwolves get the win over the Suns. And I like both of these teams, but kind of the forgotten series in all of the NBA. The Cavs are playing the Magic, in case anybody hadn't noticed. And Donovan Mitchell dropped in 30 points to lead the Cavs to victory. So there you go. Cavs, Timberwolves, Knicks, Nuggets. There's your Saturday winners. Of the Saturday slate, Brenden, most significant, I think the Nuggets. I think most significant, the Lakers look tired. The Lakers look gassed. Maybe, again, I don't want to overreact to it. They could come back and bounce back and win tonight, tie up the series, and I'll look like a big dumb doofus. But I think of the Saturday games, I think the Lakers maybe the most significant.
Yeah,
What do you got?
It could be. I look at the Knicks. I think the Knicks taking out Philly is more significant. But I was far more intrigued with yesterday's games than I was on Saturday, and that was mostly because
Well, you were at a spring showcase on
I didn't get to
Saturday.
see a whole
You were
bunch
like,
of them on
I mean, you were
Saturday.
locked into the orange versus the black.
Yep. But yeah, I got a chance to watch a good amount of games yesterday, and might as well start with the most recent one that I saw. Justin, the Pelicans without Zion.
Right down to the wire.
Close to stealing one on the road. 3J McCollum with a look.
He had the look.
Just bounces off the rim.
And, man, again, that's why basketball is great, because that's why football is great. It's why baseball is great. It's why sports are great, right? Because game of inches is a cliche, but it's also true. CJ knocks in that 3 last night. They take game 1 without Zion. All right, so do we know? I'm assuming Zion's out for the foreseeable future. They're not going to say it because they're going to want to go game by game. But if it's that right hamstring, he's done, right? He's not going to play. Not a
It's a
doctor,
strain, so it's like if they,
which is such a vague term.
It is. We have no idea.
Grade 1,
Yep.
grade 2 is, but I don't think he's going to play. But I don't think we're ever going to hear an actual announcement other than like, well, he's listed as out, and on with all the Jonte Porter stuff, nobody's messing with the injury report anymore. But yeah, right down to the wire. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander did drop in 28. I think he had like 13 in the fourth quarter. He wasn't having a very good game and then kind of came alive. We talked about it earlier. We're going to talk about it later. Damian Lillard, 35 points in the first half. Didn't even need to score in the second half. Came ready to play. The Bucks get the win over the Pacers. No Kawhi Leonard. No problem for the Clippers. We saw old school James Harden. Can I confess something new? Basketball confession real quick amongst friends. I forgot how good Paul George was at basketball. Because he's not like...
Are you not familiar with his game?
I am familiar with his game, but I forgot. Just watching that game, I'm like, God, Paul George is so good.
But what's his nickname? What's his nickname, Justin? You should know this.
It was Playoff P.
Yeah, so, I mean...
And we do this all the time. And also with injuries. And he's not the most out there dude.
He's very quiet.
You know what I mean? He's not like, he's not on commercials. But I watched it. I was like, oh, I forgot how awesome Paul George was.
Yeah, he's a great player. And when he's healthy, I mean, again, Kawhi Leonard obviously missed the start of the game. That knee, apparently not it. Like, you know, if the Clippers got Kawhi Leonard back, Justin, they could be a dark horse in the West. They really could. For how well Harden's playing, for how well Paul George is playing, I think Ty Lue is one of the best coaches in the NBA. So they're kind of my sneaky team to watch in the West if Kawhi gets healthy, which that's a big if.
He's had one time. Well, I take it back. Twice Kawhi has gone into the postseason fully healthy and engaged. And guess what? He was the MVP of the finals both times.
Oh, so you're saying he won a championship both times he's been healthy?
That's how good he is when he's healthy. But it's just it's always problematic. Also, hot take. Just body language. Luka Kyrie thing's gonna blow up. This is gonna blow up. I'm watching. I'm watching in the fourth quarter, and it was a little bit of a comeback, but then I'm watching Luka just wave off Kyrie Irving in the fourth quarter, waving him off. And we know that everything runs through Luka in Dallas. I get it, but waving off Kyrie Irving in the postseason, I'm like, keep an eye on that. That's going to be problematic. Celtics beat the Heat. Not really a surprise. That's pretty much it. All right, coming up next, more Dame. More football stuff. Tom Brady hinting at a comeback. Hour number 2 coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 7 a.m. on a Monday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA playoffs saw the Celtics, Clippers, Bucks, and Thunder. All home teams take a 1-0 series lead yesterday. Trio game twos with the Cleveland Cavaliers looking to go 2-up on the Magic. Knicks looking to go 2-up on the Philadelphia 76ers. Nuggets, Lakers in the nightcap tonight. Your MVP finalists: Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Luka Doncic are in the top three. I personally think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander should win it going away. Not that I have any other motivation other than just good basketball. Aaron Fentress is going to be joining the show in hour number 3, but we got to make her miss. I got a old man rant about general admission seating at concerts. And Dame goes off for 35 in the first half yesterday. How we feeling about it, Blazer fans? We start hour 2 right now, 620 Rip City Radio. Hey, welcome back to Rip City Mornings, everybody. Happy you're here. Happy to be here. As I mentioned, we got a jam-packed hour number 2. Make or miss coming up in about 20 minutes. I went to a fantastic concert on Saturday night. Not a fantastic seating arrangement, as there was none. Am I too old to be in general admission? I had this question. Right? You have those moments in your life. I very distinctly remember the moment I walked in to a college bar in my late 20s and got I don't belong here anymore. I very much remember walking in and going yeah, I don't belong here anymore. I can't come back. Had that feeling on Saturday. I think it might be too old for general admission. I think it might be time. There was a time I was like, yeah, guess what? That's part of the experience, right? You're there, you're shoulder to shoulder. I despised, Brenden, nearly everything about the pandemic. I did not handle it well. I'll be honest, on Saturday, could have used 6 feet apart. So I'll yell at a cloud. Old man yells at cloud coming up in about 40-some minutes. But we got to start hour number 2 the same way we started hour number 1. Damian Lillard, he had his playoff moment. First time he's been back in the playoffs in 2 years. It looked like he was waiting for this moment. It looked like he was prepared. Indiana certainly was not prepared. A lot of open looks. Did the Pacers forget? Brenden, did the Pacers forget that Damian Lillard still's got it? And then it looked a little bit different in the second half. All of a sudden, it's we better guard that guy, because if we don't, he's going to drop a 50-burger on us in game 1 of the playoffs. And to Dame's credit, didn't need to score in the second half. They won going away. It got a little, I think it got as close as maybe 14 or 12, but it was at 30. Now, here's the problem with the internet. Everybody has to be on one side or the other. We don't like that guy. We like that guy. If you're a Blazer fan, Dame, turncoat. Said he was loyal, left. Not rooting for that guy. Dame, or you're on the other side, right? Understand it. He is such an important part of this city. Still has a massive positive impact on this city. Blazers never gave him a chance. I'm rooting for him. Get your ring, Dame, right? Remember the sign that the adorable child had at Moda Center when Dame came back? It was like, get your ring and then come back. And they put it on the big screen, part of one of his 14 tribute videos. And he deserved each and every one of them. I am in a gray area that I don't really recall being in watching Damian Lillard. Because on one hand, it stinks watching Dame do that for another team. It does not feel good. I do not like it. Not one bit. What was it, Michael Scott? Yeah, don't like that. Don't like it at all. Is that a GIF? I believe it's a GIF.
I think. Oh yeah, I was trying to remember the context. That's what's when all the changes start happening, right? They come in and it's like, oh, we're gonna not gonna fill up we're gonna fill up water bottles instead of using the little plastic
Yeah.
cups. And Michael
like
Scott, I go through 50 dipped plastic cups a day.
That's
Do you
how I
remember
felt.
that when they used to have those little wax paper cups with
100%.
all these water things that were everywhere, and now, for good reason, because they are just probably not great. I mean, for the environment. Those little Dixie wax cups, man, were everywhere. Sorry, Justin. Detracting from your point, but that triggered me for that moment. I remember seeing those everywhere.
It's a big deal at golf courses. The golf course, there would be like a couple of water stations in the summer. But now, again, because everybody's got like, all right, is Stanley still hot in these streets with the water bottles?
That's a great question.
You want to go over the real quick? We're gonna get back to Dame. Evolution of water bottles. All right. Nalgene, I think, was the first big, you got to get this water bottle. Wasn't it, Nalgene? Like, I had one. It was blue. Then, did Hydro Flask come before Yeti?
They did.
Yeah. So it went Nalgene, got to get a Nalgene, to Hydro Flask, got to get a Hydro Flask. Then Yeti, I got two of them. Hi YouTube. Then Stanley had their moment. Is Stanley still like? What's going to be next?
An Owala, I think is how you pronounce that one as well.
Is that one? Is that a new one?
Is
that one I'm going to have to put in my notes for a gift that I have to buy my wife because she's got all of them.
They are
my wife has all of them.
They're fancy because this one, like everyone's different, but like me, Justin, my water bottle's a very basic hydro, just lid comes off, open mouth. But
what do you got? Hydro Flask?
Kind of an off-brand, but yes.
You went off-brand?
Oh yeah, it was
got a tepid off-brand cola?
It's true. It's true. I normally do those little things do bother me, but not in the case of it still keeps the water cold. But no, like it's got a dent in it. I could totally
well used.
Yeah, I could totally use a new one. And like you said, the Yeti ones are nice. There's so many different kinds. You can have like the spout top. You can have a wide mouth. You can have the straw. I mean, you can have anything you want now, Justin. The world is your oyster.
Isn't it amazing? Like, we had this whole run of, like, Nalgene. You got to get an Nalgene to where you couldn't even find them. It was everybody's Christmas present, right? Everybody got an Nalgene. Then it was, Nalgene's great and all, but that's plastic. Everybody freaked out as a BPA free, right? And then it was like, oh, it's plastic. Are you even as a water bottle, you might be taking in contaminants, so you got to go metal. And then Hydro Flask came along. I was like, yeah, Hydro Flask. And they're like, What's in the middle there?
Oh, Justin, but there was never.
And then Yeti came along and was like, hey, you like your Hydro Flask? You want to pay triple? Yeah, I do. And it's like, all right, so then we all had to get Yetis. And then Stanley came along and was like, yeah, you can pay a normal, but we're just never going to be available. You have to stand in line and fight off other women in their 30s to be able to get these. So I hope you're happy. So that's.
But there is not a
evolution of water bottles.
Yeah, there might not be a worse sound though, Justin, than a Hydro Flask hitting concrete. That sound makes.
That's a bad one. You're right. It is. That's a bad one. I still maintain worst sound is styrofoam cooler. I hate styrofoam.
Entirely fair.
I hate styrofoam coolers.
Mine is like a fork across a plate kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, like.
What a butter knife. What about a butter knife on a plate?
Yeah. Yep. You got me, man. You got me.
Like somebody goes to cut a piece of chicken and comes.
Just. Yeah. No,
I'm
good. I'm good.
Let's get back to Dame real
quick.
Back to Dame. How are you on that one? Like I said, I'm so torn. I'm so torn on this because I want to be a good radio host to be like, here is my take. My take was I understand every single bit of it. It was the right time for Damian Lillard to ask for a trade. Also, for everything that he has done in his career, he deserves a run and a chance. And if Giannis comes back, they clearly have a chance. All of that. But I don't like it. I didn't like it. I didn't know how I was going to feel until yesterday afternoon, and I flipped the game on. And yesterday afternoon, I flipped the game on, and for like about 5 minutes, I'm like, hey, that's cool. Hey, look at that's old. And then it's like, that's not here.
Yeah,
he's not our guy anymore. the Bucks came in
Yeah,
and
I mean,
stole our guy.
I'll
Didn't steal him as a whole trade, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this: it was weird because I got to watch yesterday. Both of our former guards play for respective different
Yeah.
teams, and I've gone up and down with it. I've been probably more critical than others when it comes to Dame, and just this is just me, Justin. I enjoyed watching CJ Moore, and this might be extremely petty. CJ McCollum didn't ask for a trade.
Well, yeah.
Damian Lillard did.
Hand was kind of forced, though.
Slightly, but is that not a true
I
statement?
don't know if it was slightly. I think it was. Hand was kind of. Hey, you
Is
have
that not true,
whatever
but-
fandom and passion you have. It's why sports are the best. But like anybody that's been through like a serious breakup, and now with the tech companies because they're evil, you can't like use. There's a Sam Hunt song, right? Breaking up was easy in the '90s. Because you just broke up and you just went to a different bar, right? You didn't have to get their face. Hey, do you know this person? It's like, I know that person. Why do you keep popping them up on my Facebook thing? Hey, Instagram, you might like this profile. No, I don't want that profile. You know exactly who that is. It felt a little bit like that. Felt like, you know what? The breakup was needed. We needed to break it. It wasn't working. It wasn't going to work long term. Jobs, life, everything wasn't going to work. Wish them the best. I didn't know they were going to be that good. You know what I mean? That's kind of how I felt watching Dame in a Bucks jersey in the playoffs. Going vintage Dame, step back threes, guys in his face, seeing people on Twitter, boy, Dame's on fire. I was like, used to talk about Dame that way with the Blazers. Now nobody talks about the Blazers until the lottery in like 3 weeks. All right, we have got Make or Miss coming up. Also, am I too old for general admission? We'll talk about that a little bit later on this hour. But before we get to all of that, I do want to tell you about an MVP each and every day. They're experts in roofing, siding, windows, and bath renovations. They're a proud supporter of Operation Homefront. I, of course, am telling you about DeBella. A lot of people worried about their budget right now. How about potentially paying for a brand new roof with savings, federal, state incentives? You ever think about going solar? That's right. DeBella's got all the details about updating your roof with solar shingles that could potentially pay for that roof with savings to your energy bill, plus those state and federal incentives. Also, their estimates are free, scheduled at a convenient time that works for you. They have got 15,000 plus 5-star reviews on Google. That number keeps going up each and every day because their customers raving about their service from DeBella. Better Homes and Garden, HGTV, plus Angie's List and Home Advisor, all of which have been showing their award-winning customer service. Now is the perfect time to connect with DeBella. No payments until 2025 on approved credit. So check out DeBella today for a free, no-obligation appointment for roofing, windows, siding, and bath projects. Proud supporter of Operation Homefront. Oregon experts are DeBella. All right, 1 hour from now, Aaron Fenter's going to join the show. How'd Fenter spend his week? Didn't have to watch bad basketball. So got that going for him. But we'll talk to Aaron Fentress. Now the Blazers offseason begins. Priorities. How important is building through the draft? Who's in, who's out? So we'll dive into that with Aaron Fentress coming up in an hour from now. Plus, maybe get his thoughts on the NFL draft. His Chicago Bears picking number 1. It's going to be the Caleb Williams show going on in Chicago. So we'll dive into that. Also, I had a moment this weekend where it's did you ever watch How I Met Your Mother? Did you ever watch the show How I Met Your Mother? Did you ever get into that show? You're probably out of your window a little bit,
Just a little bit. I watched a few episodes here and there, so I'm aware of the characters and know who they are.
It was like, okay.
But it was a big deal.
I remember one time, Devon Pouncey, who's going to be joining us tomorrow, very excited to bring Pounce back tomorrow. We had a conversation on a former show that we did together each and every day. It wasn't just Tuesdays. And he asked me one time, he's like, what's the deal with Friends? It's like, I don't get it. What's the deal with Friends? And the reason that Friends, I believe, was such a phenomenon is, again, a little bit pre or early internet. And there was a whole world of people like me who were in your mid to late 20s, and like your friend group kind of became your family. Like your friends you're old enough, you had some money, but not everybody was married with kids, kind of like they are now. So you don't have to go home for Thanksgiving. You can just Friendsgiving became like a thing. And it was like all of us that were like right in that little bubble. And like it was kind of the same thing like How I Met Your Mother. It's like if you were like right there in that age group. Anyways, neither here nor there. On How I Met Your Mother, there was an episode, because How I Met Your Mother was about kind of the next evolution, which is like you're getting older. Your friends are starting to settle down. This is getting weird, isn't it? They had a thing called the Murtaugh list. Now, I assume while not alive when this movie was massively popular, you have heard of Lethal Weapon. Right? Danny Glover, Mel Gibson, Lethal Weapon. And Danny Glover was Murtaugh. And Murtaugh was constantly getting drug into things by Riggs, Mel Gibson. And Murtaugh had this saying of, I'm too old for this. And they didn't say stuff. I'm getting too old for, and so on How I Met Your Mother, they created the Murtaugh list of things that as you hit a certain age, you're just too old to do. I think I might add one to my list. I think I might be adding one to my list of things that I'm too old for this stuff. That's known as the Murtaugh list. All right, so we'll dive into that. Right now, though, hey, let's get to Make or Miss. Brenden, what's the generational show? It's interesting with your generation, because I would imagine most of you and your friends' favorite show was probably The Office. We quote The Office all the I'm talking sitcoms, not dramas. Sitcoms.
Like, because it's like I had a conversation this weekend with a buddy I hadn't seen in a while. I'd throw in Game of Thrones, man.
But if we go sitcom,
like, sure.
It's probably The Office. But what's interesting is you guys didn't watch The Office when it was on. Most of you watched it on Netflix.
Yes.
So do you even have like I guess you don't have appointment TV. Like, I don't know if you have like a show where you're like, Friends, you go back, you watch Friends, and I'm like, yep, I know everything they're doing. I remember doing all of that. I remember dressing in that weird way. That speaks to my generation. I think a lot of boomers, probably late Gen Xers and early boomers, probably Cheers. Like that speaks to me. You guys just, because I think the Netflix on demand thing, you guys didn't have network TV. Never really had a show.
Yeah, there are more memorable like teenager shows that are more memorable to me than like the Nickelodeon shows when I was like 13, 14 that are way more memorable.
I watched a thing about the Nickelodeon shows.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it.
Oh boy.
Well, the part they don't tell you is every one of those shows was fantastic. So
I mean,
that's-
they kind of alluded to it, but
Yeah.
oh boy.
Yep, it's like they say with everything
That
else,
was-
separate art from the artist because like
Oh, boy.
if I were to I still will watch episodes of Drake and Josh now. Like that is my sister and I still kids shows, Drake and Josh.
Yeah.
Basically everything that was on Nickelodeon in like the mid to late 2000s
Mhm.
or Disney Channel even.
Mhm.
Throw in
Well, I saw some stuff on those shows.
yeah, like throw in
It's kind of like,
let's say
you
so.
want to talk about hidden in plain sight. Like
Yeah.
I watched that documentary about those Nickelodeon, that Dan Schneider guy. Now I remember Dan Schneider from Head of the Class, because Head of the Class, he was on the show, but it was one of those I didn't watch those shows and I don't have children, so I heard of Drake and Josh and I had heard of The Sweet Life with Zach and Cody. That was Disney Channel, though,
that
right?
was great though.
The
Yep.
bad
Yep.
guy worked on that show
That
too.
was a fun show.
But
I watched a lot of hours.
and I never like all that. I was too like I knew who Amanda Bynes was.
You were a little late.
but
you were
I
in college when that was going on. I
I'm
was.
not even after college.
I was.
Dude, I watched that show this
6.
weekend. I binged all 4 episodes.
Yeah. No,
Dude.
yeah. No, I watched it a couple
Whew.
weeks. Watched it a couple weeks back, and it's amazing what Justin how hard a background check is. Supposedly.
Unbelievable.
So I
Especially when you don't want to.
Now I wouldn't know because and enough time has passed. It's still funny to joke about. Truth be told, Justin, I have never had a job have a longer background check than the one I'm sitting at with you now.
Yeah.
And I only know that because when me and my colleagues all got hired like the same day for the promotional street team years ago, I remember texting with we exchanged numbers and like 2 weeks later we're like, hey, we haven't heard anything. Anyone heard anything? They're like, no. And then we heard back later, yeah, background checks take like 3-4 weeks to process. And we're like, wow, okay, so that's
thorough here.
yeah,
You know what's not
thorough to make sure
You know
you're
it's
on
not-
the air.
Your
on the
background
airwaves.
check was not thorough. Nickelodeon.
But
Dude,
that-
Google
Yeah.
Google search
oh yeah.
would have taken 20 minutes. Anyways, we don't
But
have time. We don't have
yeah,
time
so-
to get to that. We're making
But
this.
yeah, so to that point, Justin, I would say that for sure, like the and I want to like preteen shows because it's not
yeah.
animated SpongeBob.
Because we
like-
also had Saved by the Bell, right?
Yeah,
we had
yeah.
Saved by the Bell.
Same
we
thing.
had Hey Dude.
yeah,
I don't know what I would have done
Like-
if I'd have found out Hey Dude had some bad.
to
Probably
your
was,
point,
but
like I could go up against anybody in Drake or Josh trivia and probably own just about it. Like it was my show.
dude, did that just the whole thing? Like I don't want to dive into it, but it just kind of blow your mind. Like no, because like no one
Yeah.
like, and then looking back, because that guy
it did.
he
It
had like
did.
some problems, and you're like, well, no wonder he had some problems.
Oh yeah, no, it totally is one of those things that before I watched it, it said, just preface this is probably going to ruin some of your favorite TV shows, and yeah, like I said, you make the point, Justin. Like my sister and I text throughout the week, and one of the things we like to do is send each other like TikTok clips and
Mm-hmm.
Instagram of like shows that we watch. Like remember this moment or remember this and yeah, I mean like. I'd say probably once a week we're sending like a Drake and Josh reference to each other. So
Okay.
it's kind of ingrained in like our cultural like thing. So to your point, yes, very shocking. But
All right, let's
get
let's
into
get
make or miss. Justin, like death and taxes, Wemby is a lock for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, 100%. Who else? I mean, who else would it be? It couldn't put
Scoot Henderson?
Oh wait, I guess not
Chet.
Scoot.
Chet is
Chet's
available.
in the mix too.
But I still
No.
think you go with Wemby. Chet, like I love Chet.
I think Chet was in a spot where, because it's technically his rookie year, he's in year 2, and it would have been like, you have to really, really, really outperform Wemby. And I don't really think he did. He had a good year, but I don't know if he
16
completely outperformed him. I know that Chet has been outperforming everybody's expectations from 2 years ago when that draft came along. But this is Wemby gets Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Wemby-
I mean, you think about Wemby came in with the most hype of an NBA rookie since LeBron.
more than Zion.
More than Zion, I would say. I believe more hype. Now,
Not as many YouTube videos.
no, Zion had a lot of YouTube videos. Well, I don't know. I take that back. last year, my Twitter feed was full of look at this 7'4" guy in France. Like, I had so many of those pop up. I knew about Zion when he went to Duke, but I didn't know about all the high school stuff. But I think it's fair to say Wemby came in with more hype than Zion. Zion's the only one close.
It's
of rookies coming in, number one pick. Ben Simmons had some hype, but nobody had it like Wemby since LeBron. And to his credit, kind of lived up to it. Like, stayed healthy, put up good numbers. About a once a week highlight, you would get like, I know they didn't win a lot of games, but like once a week you'd get a, hey, did you see what Wemby did? Like, that's kind of nuts. So yeah, dude gets Rookie of the Year. Absolutely. I don't think it was particularly close, to be perfectly honest. Do you have the numbers in front of you?
Yes.
Because so Chet averaged 17.
Yep. So about 17-8. Wemby was 21 and 10. So it was close, but about 5 points a game difference. So, yeah, I mean, like, surprisingly enough, like, we all kind of knew that Wemby was going to be Rookie of the Year.
But I think this was also grading on a curve, right? Because I don't think a lot of people wanted to give it to Chet, even though he was technically eligible. And so it's like you were going to have to average 30 or something.
And by the time the year got done, Justin, again, just observation, Brandon Miller was averaging 18, 5, and 3 by the end of the year.
Okay,
so,
can I throw something out? And I made very clear that sometimes when it comes to basketball stats, I am A, not interested, and B, a big dumb doofus. Is 3 assists like that exciting?
For a forward, yeah. Who doesn't
I don't know.
If you don't have the ball in your
I
hands.
feel like if it's under, and I hear people, and not you, but I hear other people, they're like, hey, 21, 11, 5, 2, and 1. I'm like, what? Like steals and blocks. When steals and blocks get in there, I'm like, whoa. Okay, 2 steals a game, but it's like you just want to throw. Nobody has ever had 15, 12, 8, 2, and 1 ever in the last 50 years of the game. It's like, has anybody really tried to have that? But
I think that
I don't know, just going to get excited about 3 assists per game.
But yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting because it was really Wemby. And then, Brandon Miller made a charge late in the year, but, unfortunately to the disappointment of all of us around here, Scoot was never in that mix.
No, he was never in that mix.
And, a year ago,
because Scoot didn't come in with anywhere near the hype, too. Because if Wemby didn't come in with hype, it'd be interesting to see or it wasn't a Scoot looks like a basketball player. Wemby looks like, I'd say this as a compliment, he looks like a freak. Like the Greek freak, not like, making fun of. He's very noticeable when you watch basketball. You watch a Blazer game, you're like, Scoot looks like the rest of the basketball players. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, so can we start?
So you can play on a bad team like the Spurs, but it's just like, oh, that's right, that 7'4" guy plays there.
Okay, so real quick, Justin, because you just mentioned something I think is we need to dive into for a second.
Okay.
We say the Greek freak, okay? Not really like, I think of that, it kind of is a cool, endearing term, right?
Yeah.
The French freak just sounds offensive.
Nah.
It just
but
sounds.
That's got to rhyme.
Yeah,
French freak.
It just sounds offensive. Like,
okay.
You French freak? You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
When you say it with that tone.
I know, right?
Of course.
French freak.
But it's like, freak is such a weird.
It is.
Not weird. It's an interesting term because it can be so mean or so complimentary. Like, I don't know if there's a word that has been as mean and as complimentary, because you say that guy is an athletic freak or that guy is a basketball freak show. Or you go, like you said, you're
I'm just saying, man. You French freak. I'm just saying. It rolls off the tongue, man. But it's not any different than calling someone a Greek freak. Like I mean,
because
it's kind of interesting.
When you are, like, if somebody says, "Oh, that guy's athletic freak of nature," right? Freak of nature is a term I'm sure most athletes would like that. Like, that guy's a freak of nature, man. But yeah.
So the true definition of a freak, Justin, is a person, animal, or plant. Go figure.
Yep.
A plant can be a freak with an
I think, yeah.
with an unusual physical abnormality. That is what the definition of a freak is to the letter of the law. So I mean, I guess with that point,
Venus
considering
flytrap, that's a freak.
well, I mean, considering that
Plant that eats flies. How nuts is that?
oh, I know, right? Let's see. So, for instance, Justin, in America, the average male height is 5 feet 9 inches.
Boom.
If you're a 7-footer, you're a freak. By
Above
the definition
average.
of that definition, you're physically abnormally tall, right? So there it is.
I think when you throw a U in front of it, you freak. That and the tone changes a lot. All right, do we have one more?
We sure do. Let's
5'9", huh?
Sorry.
5'9", huh?
5'9", average male height in the United States, which makes me feel better because I barely can touch 5'9", so at least makes me feel I'm average.
Telling myself I'm 5'10".
Oh, you're taller than me, Justin.
I am taller than you, so I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say 5'10".
Like I said, I'm not the smallest out there, but certainly not the biggest.
God, I want to be 6 foot so bad.
Oh, I know.
God, I want to be 6 feet tall so bad.
My brother's like 6'2". He rubs it in my face all the
That's
time. He does.
Unfortunate.
He does. He's got the height in the family, man. He's like, oh, older brother, but I can look down on you, huh? At 18, I'm like, yeah, I guess
There is a sweet spot of like 6'1" to 6'3".
Oh yeah, he's
Where like in normal life, I think by the time you get to like 6'4" but you don't play basketball, like planes become uncomfortable. Do you know what I mean?
It's true.
I think 6'1", 6'2" is like, that's the sweet spot of like where I would imagine where you'd want to be. You can get fat, but you still don't like you can cover it up with like, hoodies and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right.
Let's get to one more. One from last week that Justin and I didn't get to dive into. Blake Griffin is more likely for the Hall of Fame than LaMarcus Aldridge.
All right, hot take. I don't think either are Hall of Famers, but basketball is
I like it.
Is more inclusive of a Hall of Fame than the football and the baseball one, right? There's a lot of basketball Hall of Famers where you go like, really? Like, that guy got in?
Let's see here.
Run through the last, and again, not Chauncey Billups, Hall of Famer, good for him, earned it, all that stuff. That was not a knock at Chauncey Billups, but like
LaMarcus was a 7-time All-Star.
mhm.
Blake Griffin was a 6-time All-Star. Their numbers, their stats. Blake
Neither one played in the finals, right?
19, 8, and 4 for Blake Griffin. LaMarcus was 19, 8, and 2. So literally almost exactly the same. Very different players, but same stats. Taking away our bias, I think on just, and I asked my buddy this over the weekend, I'm like, who would you pick? And I go, it's when push comes to shove, it's kind of a silly reason, but I would give it to the more name brand player, and that's Blake.
And I was going to get into that too. I get so frustrated when people overanalyze the MVP because it's as valuable. It's valuable. It's like, no, it means the best player, okay? Oh, no, it doesn't mean best player is the most valuable player. It's like, no. It's just the best player. That's just the way they talked back when they invented the award is, boy, you are valuable. But MVP it's the best player. Now I'm going to do that the other way, though. Hall of Fame, like fame means famous. Blake Griffin's famous, right? That's why you go to Hall of Fame is to see the famous players. Accolades, achievements, stats, all that stuff, contributions, all that. I think the one thing holding both of those guys back, though, I believe neither one have a. Did LaMarcus get a ring in San Antonio? Did he get?
Nope, neither one of them.
So
Nope.
I know Blake Griffin didn't get a ring.
Neither rings.
I don't think either played in the finals. I know Blake Griffin didn't because the Nets didn't make it that year.
Spurs made the Western Finals, never the NBA
But never
Finals.
the NBA. So neither one of them have that kind of Chauncey Billups,
he
got in because of obviously a career, but also he's NBA Finals MVP. He had the moment on the game's biggest stage. That's one of the things that you have to factor in. Neither one of those guys did. So if you ask me, if I'm at the door, I'd be like, I'm not seeing either one of you on the list.
Not even for jumping over the hood of a Kia?
Blake Griffin was great. Fun in-game dunker, all that stuff.
And I love L.A. here.
I have always been a Hall of Fame should be more exclusive instead of inclusive. But basketball's kind of the opposite way. We're inclusive, though, in terms of a show, because we talk about a lot of different things. I had an experience this weekend, and I might need to add it to the I'm getting too old for this nonsense list. I'll tell you what it is next, 620 Rip City Radio. All right, time to wrap up hour number 1. No, hour number 2. Show's flying by. It's hour number 2. And I mentioned earlier, I was a big fan of the show How I Met Your Mother, and one of my favorite episodes was a show called The Murtaugh List. And that brings in another bit of pop culture, which is, of course, Lethal Weapon. And Murtaugh on Lethal Weapon famously said, I'm getting too old for this. And then he said a word that I can't say on the radio. You can say it apparently on ESPN in the middle of the day, but I can't say it on the radio, nor do I want to, by the way. And at my age, I'm 44 years old, and I have embraced it. I've embraced my age. Look, I still got hair, and I wear a medium shirt. I feel pretty good for 40, and I don't have glasses, so I feel pretty good for my age. But every once in a while, some things happen where I go like, yep, just too old for that. So some other examples of things that I have realized over the years that I am too old for. I mentioned it earlier in the show. Other than before or after a college football game, I'm too old for college bars. I've been too old for college bars for a while. Speaking of bars, I'm too old to wait in line to get into a bar. Too old. There is no place that is so cool that I, at my age, am going to wait in line to get into. I'm too old to be waiting in line to get into a bar. Went to a concert this weekend. You know what I'm too old for? Sneaking anything in anywhere. Candy to the movie theater? No, too old for that. If I can't pay the $7 for the medium popcorn or whatever it is, or if I can't, how much is when was the last time you've been to a movie theater, Brenden?
Oh, if you think you're getting popcorn and soda for less than $20, you're lying.
Well, yeah, but how much is a candy? Like $7?
At least $5, $6, $7.
Okay, yeah. If I can't afford the $7 for the Reese's Pieces, I'm not sneaking them in at this point in my life. You in your 20s, have at it. Have at it.
I don't think you ever get too old to be cheap.
I disagree.
That's just a personal thing for me.
Yeah, I disagree. We'll see how you feel when you're 44. I do think there's a point where there's levels of cheap where, like I said, if you're in your 40s, you're still sneaking booze into football games, reevaluate your life.
What I say, Justin?
Yeah, I know the beer is $14.
I'm so
sorry,
cheap, I squeak.
But I'm too old to be sneaking anything into anywhere, whether it's candy at the movie theater or booze at which don't, by the way, booze at a college football game or any football game for that matter. I'm too old for that. I think I'm going to add another one to the list. Because on Saturday, went to the Crystal Ballroom, enjoyed a very fun concert. Cameron Marlowe, he's very good. I feel like he's going to be a pretty significant country star over the next couple of years. That's neither here nor there. I grew up going to the Crystal Ballroom. I grew up thinking how awesome it was that the floor kind of shakes when everybody's jumping up and down. I've seen all sorts of acts at the Crystal Ballroom, from stand-up comedy to a Neil Diamond cover band to a handful of country shows. I've seen them. This is not a knock against the Crystal Ballroom. This is a personal decision on my behalf. Brenden, I'm too old for general admission anymore. I'm too old. I'm too old for general admission. I am not to the point where I need to sit down for an entire concert. I am not there yet, but I am to the point now where I have to have my own spot. I have to have my own destination because got to the show at an appropriate time, not crazy early, not crazy late, got there at an appropriate time. And I'm there with my wife. Kelly and I would go in. We had a lovely dinner. Wild Child Pizza at this bar Cuties in the Pearl District. Thumbs up from the Rip City Morning host. It's Detroit style pizza. Have you had that? The Detroit style?
Have I had Detroit style or been to that?
Either or.
Yeah, no. Like I said, I don't get down to downtown too much. So,
but have you had Detroit style?
Yeah, I've had Detroit.
Fan?
Yeah.
It's a little saucy.
Yeah, I mean it's thicker, more sauce. Sometimes sauce on top of the cheese.
Is that a little too much?
Yeah, it's
Either way,
not my favorite style pizza, but yeah, it's solid.
the cheese baked into the crust, though, that's a little game changer. Shout out Detroit. Um, so Kelly and I get to the concert. We walk up. We each get a drink. And then anybody that's been to Crystal Ballroom knows, like, all right, you got to scout out some real estate, right? And I'm looking around, and it makes me feel really good. Makes me feel really good. A lot of people my age here. Maybe the more people that are my age are going to have some social decorum of like, yeah, you stay in your lane. I'm going to stay in my lane, right? I'm just going to have. Then the lights go down, the music starts, and then the terrible people come out. Now, Brenden, I don't want to paint with a broad brush, but I'm going to paint with a broad brush. White women in their 30s are maybe the worst people in the world. Every crowd I've ever been to, the people that cause the most havoc, white women in their 30s, on a mom's night out, too many vodka sodas or White Claws, bumping into everybody, crowding everybody, still feel like they're young enough to be entitled, but not. And not old enough to have finally realized, like, I need to maybe not be so selfish. It's that sweet spot. They're the worst. Causing all of the havoc. So I'm sitting there, and I'm in general admission. And, of course, Brenden, you know your boy. If I'm at a country concert, am I just going to have one beer? No. No. And did I have some margaritas before I went to the concert? I sure did. So I'm like, all right, this is the perfect time. I'm going to peel off. Kelly, hold our spots. Hold the ground. I'm peeling off. I can get to the bar and back. Be ready to go for the headliner. Yeah, there's no rhyme nor reason to it. I get lost in the shuffle. Kelly's getting shoved around because I'm not there. Concert happened. It was great. The show was fantastic. All in all, net positive. But, Brenden, I think I shall make the declaration, speaking only for myself, because this is not saying that everybody should have to listen to. If you don't feel like you are too old for it, great. I, personally, as a 44-year-old man, am ready to declare, yeah, I'm not doing general admission anymore. General admission concerts are out. It would have to be some show before I do general admission ever again. As Lieutenant Murtaugh said in Lethal Weapon, that was, of course, highlighted in How I Met Your Mother, that was realized by me, your host, on Saturday night. No, I'm getting too old for this stuff. Way too old. Don't mind standing up at a show. Don't mind it at all. Matter of fact, kind of enjoy standing up. I even enjoyed cutting a rug a little bit. In my lane, right? In my personal space. I like to do a little boot stomp every once in a while as well. But I need a designated seat. I need a designated seat so that I know to get to and from, that when I go back to the bar and I get another drink, that I need to go. I am section 14, row 4, seat 3. That's where I'm headed. Not I think I saw the garbage can by the corner of the stairs. Kelly, hold your hand up. Too old for general admission. Not too old for hour number 3. That's coming up next, 620 Rip City Radio. It is 8 a.m. on a Monday morning. Justin Myers with you. NBA playoffs saw the Celtics, Clippers, Bucks, and Thunder all take a 1-game-to-none series lead yesterday. Also, all 4 home teams won on Saturday. That is 8 for 8 home teams in Game 1. A trio of Game 2, though, tonight. Cleveland will be taking on the Magic, looking to take a 2-games-to-none lead. The Knicks up 1-0 on Philly have Game 2 tonight. And the Nuggets and the Lakers in the nightcap. Nikola Jokic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and Luka Doncic are your 3 MVP finalists in the NBA. And coming up in 20 minutes, Aaron Fentress joins the show. We've got the RCM mailbag. Is Tom Brady throwing out hints? Hour 3 of Rip City Morning starts right now on 620 Rip City Radio. I didn't realize how many people either A, I knew, or B, feel compelled on social media to mention that they openly and freely sneak candy into the movie theater.
As they should, Justin.
Openly and freely. All right. Is it real? Is it sneaking in? What would happen, if you got, because, they don't check, right? Now, it's been, can I go full up, hand in the air, confession? The last movie I saw in the theater was Top Gun Maverick. The movie I watched before, I think, was Creed 2, pre-pandemic. So, since the pandemic, I went
2 years ago for Top Gun now.
Yeah. The last movie I saw in the theater. So I still think of theaters as they existed in 2005. Apparently now everybody's got every seat's in a assigned seat now, for the most part.
It depends on theaters.
But it's almost outnumbered though. The old school theaters, they're fewer and far between as opposed to the new ones that are the living room theaters.
Yeah, it kind of depends. The theater, how big the theater it is. There's lots of options. So yes and no.
Okay. Safe space, no judgment. I'm honest to goodness curious. Because there was a time in my 20s when I was around your age where if I was going to the movies, first stop, Walmart. Because Walmart knows what they're doing. Because Walmart's got the movie theater candy in the box, right? And it's 2 for $1. So that would be my first stop. We get some Reese's Pieces or some Junior Mints. Problem Reese's Pieces, a little too loud in that box. A little tough to sneak in. But that was in my 20s. And then I got to the point I was am I really sneaking in the candy? You sneak in the, now you're a Sour Patch Kids guy, right? At the movies? Isn't it funny how, there are certain candies, I don't know if I would ever, if I splurge and I go to, the gas station convenience store and I'm just I need some candy. Reese's Pieces are not on the top 15 of my list. Not in the top 15. I go to the movie theater, I want Reese's Pieces. I don't know what it is. What it is about the movie theater that I love Reese's Pieces at the movie theater. It's like I talked about with ginger ale on the plane, right? Would never order a ginger ale. I don't ever see anyone drinking ginger ale. I don't go to a restaurant and oh, do you have a good ginger ale? But you get on a plane, everybody's ordering ginger ale. I think that's Reese's Pieces. I think Sour Patch Kids are like that as well. Those feel like a movie theater grab.
I'd say Skittles are probably my go-to.
So you do the thing where you go stop by the Walmart real quick, grab the Skittles.
The thing is, Justin, I usually have so much candy at home.
You just bring it from home.
Exactly. Yeah. No.
Do you get candy at Costco?
No.
Where do you get all this candy from?
Just usually trips to, the store, Safeway. I mean,
you just go to Safeway and just I need about 2 or 3 packages of Skittles, throw it in the cupboard.
Pretty much. For right now I'm eating off my birthday candy. Mom hit it clutch for the birthday and basically made the entire present bags of candy.
There you go.
I didn't know there were this many different kinds of Peeps, but I'm trying them all now. Like, did you know there's a Dr. Pepper flavored Peep, Justin?
No. Do
you
I
know
look like I would know that there's?
Do you know there's a Rice Krispie treat flavored Peep? Oh, well, Brendan's tried them. So, yeah.
Okay. I am a live and let live guy. That has been a new thing in my life, right? I used to be very judgmental of people who would say, I don't know, put ketchup on a hot dog. And then they're like, let people live. Not my hot dog. It's not ruining my hot dog. So I have changed my ways to where I try not to judge. I don't order shame, right? It's not going to ruin my hot dog. That being said, wouldn't you just rather have a Rice Krispie treat and a Dr. Pepper instead of having a like
they were bought for me.
Yeah, that's true.
They were bought for me.
But
yeah.
okay, let's just say you went to the store and you're like, hey,
would I buy
there's
them?
a Rice Krispie treat flavored Peep and a Dr. Pepper. It's like, or I could go 50 feet over, grab me an actual Dr. Pepper and an actual Rice Krispie treat, and then call it a day and eliminate the Peeps altogether.
I probably wouldn't have bought them. They're not my favorite, but it's one of those things where I tried one just to see how close it was.
Yeah, I guess you gotta try it. Yeah.
And to that point, Justin, I'm glad you mentioned that. Brian No came on with Chad Doing, Dwight, and I on Friday and claimed that mustard is terrible and ketchup is the only thing that belongs on hot dogs. I then took that into the press box at Reser Stadium on Saturday. Tyson Alger, everybody was all involved. We were talking. Justin, I had to be like you and kind of take a step back because I realized I may have ruffled some people's feathers when I said, I believe you were a 2-year-old if you put ketchup on a hot dog. And I had grown-up adults look at me and go, I only put ketchup on a hot dog. So,
yeah,
that's a hot take, but yeah, I'm sorry. You are a 2-year-old sitting in your high chair.
Now, but what do you think of people that would look at you and say, Brenden, your pineapple on pizza is for child?
I own it.
Like
I own
you're
it.
7-year-old.
Now, I don't know if that would be, I would say more my picky eating would probably be the child than pineapple on, like there are, like, the quirks.
Well, because when I was growing up, and again, Hawaiian pizza, it's not bad. I will take it over cheese or a veggie any day, right? If I'm there and the pepperoni and sausage is all gone, and like I want one more slice of pizza, and there's a Hawaiian and then there's a veggie, I'm taking the Hawaiian all day. But when I was growing up, that was like pineapple and ham on pizza was like a starter pizza because you couldn't just hand a 5-year-old pepperoni. It's way too spicy. You had to gradually lean into ultimately where you get where I'm at, which is pepperoni. But you started with cheese, and then you moved up to pineapple and ham or Canadian bacon, and then you graduated and you moved past it, kind of like ketchup on a hot dog, right? Which is you start with that, and then you move on to we need to put some mustard and some relish on this thing, and really let's load this bad boy up. So that's why I look at pineapple on pizza. It's not a bad thing, but I feel like it's on the menu for kids.
Yeah, so my childhood thing, now that you mentioned, the thing where I am perfectly, it's not the only pizza I will eat, but yeah, to your point, my preference is still cheese pizza. That would still.
Now there are some people who are pizza purists, which I respect. They're
I like
if you can't do a cheese pizza right, how am I going to trust you to put anything else on it?
Yeah, I grabbed a couple slices of pizza this weekend. I had one cheese, one Hawaiian. So that kind of sums up.
And you were not at a 5-year-old's birthday party.
Nope. So yeah, I mean that would be my thing. But yeah, for the most part, now we also said.
All right, last movie you went to. Because I want to.
Oppenheimer.
Did you sneak
twice.
in?
Twice.
Did you sneak candy in?
Yes. Only had to pay for the bucket of popcorn.
All right.
At a movie theater that is now out of business. So that's Because
now again, when I was I was a degenerate, and also before they actually served beer at theaters,
yeah, that's true.
We would have to. You sneak in a couple beers.
Yeah, see, I never was at that age.
You had to sneak in and you have to do. I don't want to do it, but I kind of want to, because Dwight James has got a Diet Coke can sitting right there, and I want to do how you had to open it in a movie theater, but I'm not going to waste one of Dwight's. He's only got a couple left. But you would have
full case. Maybe
if you were at a midnight showing or a
You had
9
to cough a little bit. Go,
so many
Yeah.
people coughing. It's like, oh, weird. We're at Talladega Nights. Everybody is coughing.
So
Boy,
as-
there must be something going on. I was, and then you would have to do that, and you.
So I did, back to the food real quick, Justin. I did determine this.
Mhm.
If you put ketchup and mustard together, you
Fry sauce.
you
You get fry
alleviate
sauce.
you alleviate yourself from the in my brain, the childhood.
God. So
Ketchup
if you
by
went-
itself.
So if you
is-
took a hot dog and you go, all right, 1 dog, please, and then you go to the condiment stand and you go ketchup on one side, mustard on the other,
perfectly acceptable. in my-
balances out.
Yep, perfectly acceptable.
But
in
if
my
you
book.
go ketchup only and then just walk away, you're like, oh, he's clearly buying that for a toddler.
I mean, maybe that's just how I remember hot dogs as a kid, man. But it was either that or mac and cheese, man. Like that was kiddie stuff right there.
What's the most? Because again, I have had people sneak the bladder of box wine
No.
into a movie theater. Oh yeah,
No.
Oh, yeah.
Really?
Brendan, we're degenerates.
Okay, that's impressive.
So
I give a doff to the cap.
It was in a purse, right? It was in a purse, and so you just take the box wine and take the bladder out and put the bladder in the purse, and then walk in.
So just like a little straw kind of a thing that came out.
just once you're in the theater, then you
You
pull
can
it
kind
out.
of pull
and,
it up. Still, that's cool. That's pretty cool.
And then you do the sneeze. The most ridiculous thing I ever saw, though, went to the movies with someone, brought in a full Five Guys order.
No way.
Stopped at Five Guys, got Five Guys.
How do you get it in? Like you put that under
Wife's
your...
purse. Wife's purse.
Okay. I'm like, that.
Full Five Guys order.
That is...
And I'm just sitting there watching a movie. Homeboy goes, grabs the bat, and like, you can smell. That's a Five Guys. Oh, all right.
That's a bold strategy,
I'm asking
Cotton.
Aaron Fentress if he sneaks stuff into the
We
theater.
might have to.
Coming up next. Plus, we'll talk some Blazers and all sorts of stuff with Aaron Fentress from the Oregonian joining us coming up next. But before we do that, I do want to tell you about DeBella. That's right. Roofing, siding, windows, bath experts. DeBella, proud supporter of Operation Homefront, and a chance to not only put in some top-of-the-line energy-efficient roofing, windows, and bath upgrades to save money on your energy bill, but you also experience award-winning customer service. And you might be thinking, Justin, if it's such great customer service and it's such great work with 15,000 five-star reviews, this has got to cost an arm and a leg. How about this? No payments until 2025 on approved credit. That's right. DeBella is free, convenient, scheduled on a time that works for you. And they've got all the information on solar shingles for your roof, savings to your energy bill, federal and state incentives. You've heard me talk about them all the time. It's because they are the best. No obligation appointment for roofing, windows, siding. The Oregon experts are DeBella. All right, very excited to welcome in our next guest. He's a friend of the program. With the Blazers now heading into the draft lottery, the Warriors taking a loss in the play-in, which ultimately helped the Blazers. And also, we've got the NFL draft, we've got the transfer portal, we got spring football going on, all sorts of stuff to talk to our good friend from the Oregonian, Aaron Fentress, back on the big show. Fentress, how we doing, bud?
I'm doing all right, man. This is the first Monday in 7 months where I didn't wake up having to prepare to attend something Blazers related.
There we go. You sound refreshed. Sound refreshed.
So yeah.
All right, we're gonna talk some Blazers here in a moment, but I do want to get your thoughts on this because we were talking about this earlier. I went to a concert on Saturday that was general admission at the Crystal Ballroom. Fentress and I instantly realized I am too old for this. I don't mind standing up for concerts, but I need to have my own space. I need some real estate, and so I went over some things that I believe I am too old for, and I brought up, I'm too old to sneak in candy at the movie theater. And then I got bombarded with people saying that, no, I'm just snooty. The candy is too expensive. So where are you? Do you and I are fairly close in age. Do you sneak candy into the movie theater still?
All the time. I refuse to pay $29.99 for some popcorn, Kit Kat, and a water. The prices are asinine. It's ridiculous. So yeah, you just swing by the Quickie Mart, and just, pop in and get stuff for 10%. I mean, maybe 30% less or whatever. But yeah, of course, I'm not. My mom taught me that trick back when I was a little kid in California. It was like, Mom, what are you doing? We're sneaking in snacks. The snacks are too expensive, so you can guarantee I'm doing that to the end of my life.
All right, so that one I got wrong. I thought I was aged out of it. Turns out no. It has nothing to do with age. It has everything to do with perspective. Because I used to, right? I used to always stop by because Fentress, Walmart knows what they're doing, right? If there's a Walmart by a movie theater and you walk in, you don't got to go 4 steps before they got a whole bin full of like Reese's Pieces and Sour Patch Kids, and they're all $1. At least they were. I don't know what it is anymore. Inflation. Everybody keeps yelling about that on the internet, but then I just got to the point where I was like, I'll just. So I felt like I just don't sneak. Now, I also don't go to the movies all that often anymore either because the movie's on my TV at my house. Right.
That is a thing. Although, they're putting out Alien again in the theaters, I think this week. So I'm going to go see that. It's fun to go see those kind of movies again on the big screen. But yeah, there's so much content on Netflix or Max or whatever. We have Apple TV as well. We have Disney. It's insane how many different apps we have. And then a movie comes out, and you're like, oh, that looks like it would be cool to go see. But with kids, your time is just so sucked up. You never get to the theater. And the next thing you know, it's out on DVD or Blu-ray, which I'm not going to buy because, again, it's going to be on demand on your TV anyway. And we have an 80-inch screen TV or something like that. So,
attaboy.
Yeah.
Attaboy.
Attaboy. There you go. That's my life goal.
Couple of old guys yelling at clouds. Can I throw can I throw one more old guy yells at cloud? Because you mentioned, like, every once in a while, I don't know if you have this because you've been with your wife longer than I've been with mine, but every once in a while I'll mention what I think is a general quote, and my wife will throw out I never saw that. And I'll go, what? We are watching it right now. Like, movies that I feel are like, I mean, absolute, we have to watch this. And then, Fentress, I've got Apple TV Plus, Paramount Plus, Max, what's Discovery Plus, which is part of Max. I've got Hulu. I've got them all. And then I'll go like, Netflix. Clearly, this movie from 1994 is going to be and I was like, no, you can rent it for $8. I'm like, why do I have 57 streaming services and not one of them has this movie that I want to watch?
I've had that happen numerous times too. Like, oh yeah, I gotta have this somewhere, and it's $99 or $4.99. I'm like, wait a minute. But they try and get you. For the most part, I mean, I know my wife's in college, so we've pretty much seen almost everything together.
Yeah.
But I just have a feeling like with you and your wife that she's probably 1,000 times more sophisticated. So if you're quoting like Ferris Bueller's Day Off, which actually is a classic movie, but you might be too young for that. Maybe I need to go higher. Maybe I need to go like, what's the movie Stole My Car with
Oh, dude, where's my car?
Yeah, dude, Mark, you probably quote that, as opposed to something that she's actually probably seeing.
I actually have a notes app, movies Kelly needs to watch. Top of the list right now, Iron Eagle. Do you remember Iron Eagle? That movie was awesome. Louis Gossett Jr. It was.
Is that a courtroom drama?
No, it's JV Top Gun. It was JV Top Gun.
Yeah. I never saw it.
So, well, there we go. Fentress movie night at my house. Sneak in the candy. All right. Aaron Fentress joining us here on 620 Rib City Radio. All right. So, real quick, let's get to the nuts and bolts of it because it sounds like going into the draft, clearly the Blazers, they have the third best odds, and at worst, the sixth pick in the draft, regardless of where the ping pong balls fall. But also, they seem to have caught a little bit of a break with Golden State kind of falling apart. So unless it's a crazy NBA's trying to set up the New York Knicks with Patrick Ewing conspiracy, Blazers likely having 2 lottery picks heading into this draft.
Well, they do.
Yeah,
they have the Warriors pick. The only problem is they can't. It's top 4 protected.
Yes,
and they can't go anywhere but top 4 or stay at 14. So you're either going to not get it or you get the 14th pick. So I don't think they were helped all that much because had they made the playoffs, they'd probably been first and out. So maybe within a 16th pick, 17th, something like 15th. So they got helped a little bit, but they can't benefit from blind luck if the Warriors would be in the top 4. So it's still another pick, which I think they need to trade, package with Brogdon and try and trade for something. Mm-hmm. But, the lottery pick is interesting. It's just a bizarre draft. And Cronin talked about this last week saying, he says it presents an opportunity because maybe if you do a good job scouting, you can identify a guy that you think might be the best or the second best player in the draft, and they may be there for you at 4. Whereas in other drafts, you knew who the top 3 were and they were gone. There was no chance of any of them falling. I think that's an interesting way to look at things. At the end of the day, what he's saying is that there's no clear-cut dudes in this draft right now, and so everyone's going to be reaching. That's how I look at it.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask. Everywhere I turn, everywhere I hear, because I would like to say I pay attention to the G League and to Europe and to Overtime Elite and college basketball when it's not March Madness or Oregon, but I don't. All the experts on the internet are like, well, this is a bad draft or it's a down draft. And like you said, there's no Wembanyama in this draft. There's no Zion in this draft. But when you look at all the things that I just mentioned, Fentress, which is you've got college, you've got the G League, you've got Europe, you've got Overtime Elite, you've got like so many different ways to go out. Like how is it we can even evaluate drafts at this particular point because there's just so many options out there in terms of places that these kids are playing basketball?
Exactly. And, I guarantee you 5 years from now, people are going to look back at this draft and there's going to be some dudes in it.
Yeah.
Right? Just like we look back at drafts that we thought were deep and you're like, damn, that draft's brutal, right? And it's such a crapshoot. It's even more of a crapshoot than it's ever been. Well, I shouldn't say that. In the last 20 years, it's been kind of a crapshoot because, like you said, there's so many different places players are coming from, and they're coming in so raw, right? They're so raw to the point where, Popovich was talking about this year. He was asked what he thought of Scoot Henderson. And he's like, I haven't paid attention to Scoot Henderson. Are you kidding me? I'm worried about my own team. We don't scout other opponents. I'm just trying to get my guys to play basketball, to play real basketball. Chauncey's talked about having to do drills, two-hand pass drills, because guys aren't learning fundamentals enough at a high enough level before they get to the league, but they're in the league because they have such athletic gifts like a Shaedon Sharpe. Shaedon Sharpe and Scoot have athletic ability that gets them into the NBA, but from a sheer basketball skills standpoint, if they played quarterback, they'd be throwing 25 interceptions a game because they wouldn't know how to read defenses. Their footwork would be bad, and their ball placement would be bad. But they have a rocket arm, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're forced to coach these guys and you're trying to get them up to speed just to be basic, just to have the basic fundamentals to even compete in the league. So now when you're drafting guys like that, you just don't know who is going to actually develop in those areas beyond some flashes of athleticism or skill. Now, someone like Wemby is just stupidly ridiculous. Like, that's just like glaringly obvious. But there's so many other guys that get tabbed. Oh, he's got this skill set and that skill set, but they're so raw and so unrefined. They get into the NBA and they just get smoked. They just get cooked and they get stuffed and things don't go well. So yeah, it's just, that's one reason why I just don't get that into it until like draft night. Oh, okay, they drafted that guy. Great. I guess we'll see what happens, because who knows? It's not like it was better in the olden times when guys came out of college after 2, 3, 4 years. You had a better body of work.
Aaron Fentress from the Oregonian joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. Going back to Joe Cronin after the season, kind of in the exit interviews, and it might have even been your question, to be perfectly honest. We played it, but we cut you out of it. So, you know, for we gave you credit. You're a friend of the program. But it was, you know, your question was, I think, what a lot of Blazer fans want to know, which is, how long is this going to last, right? How long is this rebuild going to continue? And Cronin said, look, we're focused on development, and we're not going to be able to win until they're ready, and they're not ready yet. And it seemed like he was saying there is clearly a focus on the young players. You mentioned Brogdon. Here's my question for you, Fentress, because I know we're all used to Anthony Simons being the 19-year-old fresh-faced kid who dropped 42 in that game in 2019. But it's 2024, soon to be 2025. Is Anthony Simons still a young player on this roster?
No, I think he's officially crossed over into no longer being a young guy. The problem is injuries derailed this season pretty much for him. He missed a ton of games last year too. So we still haven't been able to see full-on Anthony, on display. I was glad at least to hear Cronin say we don't have enough talent. Mm-hmm. Last year he was kind of saying we got all this talent, and now he's like, we don't have enough talent. We have to keep adding talent. So we all know the history of the Blazers in adding talent. You're not going to do it really through free agency. You might be able to do a sneaky trade and get someone in who blossoms here, but you're not going to go out and grab like some big marquee guys. It's not going to really happen. So pretty much the best way you're going to get talent is through the draft. And the best way you're going to get talent through the draft is to have high picks. And that is why they're doing what they're doing. Like they tanked the last 2 seasons. Late. I mean, they didn't begin the season tanking, but they tanked them late. They got Scoot and Sharp. They came into this season fully committed to development, which meant low-key tanking. And I asked this to Chauncey because I just wanted to get a firm idea. I said, if the fate of the world was in play, would you start Brogdon or Scoot? And the answer clearly was Brogdon, but he tried to say, like, oh, you start Scoot, maybe finish with Brogdon. I'm like, okay, y'all trying to lose. Because if you seriously are trying to win, Scoot Henderson doesn't start a game all season. Neither does Sharp, because we're not the best guards on the team. The best 2 were Ant and Brogdon. You're not starting Tumani. You're going out and you're getting a veteran 3 who might be a mid-level exception guy, but you're getting a veteran guy who actually knows how to play in the NBA. So they went into last season pretty much okay with almost analytically saying, if we play these guys, we're guaranteed to lose X amount of games. And then when injuries started hitting, the injuries became the kind of injuries where maybe they should have been out for a week and they were out for 6 weeks, that kind of stuff. So for that, you get a high pick. But you get a high pick in what's considered a weak draft, whereas next year's draft is what? Supposed to be loaded. Again, I can name Cooper Flagg, that's it. I've heard his name, right? But apparently it's a loaded draft. So if you're Joe Cronin and you know you're talent starved and you just watch Scoot and Shaden struggle, which is fine, they're still young, and now you have a pick in this draft, which is weak, do you not want to be in next year's draft? Of course you do. And so Blazers fans just got to be just along for the ride. And it's funny to watch the people complain about the losing. It's like, what did you think you signed up for? You got rid of one of the greatest players in franchise history for a 19-year-old, and you thought you were going to be as good or better? No, that's not how this works. So I'd be prepared to go to the lottery next year easily. I don't think they're going to do anything in this offseason to really improve the roster. The only way they're going to miss the lottery is if somehow everyone remains healthy and everyone takes a huge jump forward. And Cronin said if that happens, then that means that young talent has risen, right? That's a good thing. So if you do rise above that, that's good because that means Sharp and Scoot have to rise because you're going to play them a lot. If they don't rise enough and you stink, you're cool with it because you're in the lottery again. Because that's how you're going to keep replenishing the talent.
Aaron Fentress from the Oregonian joining us here on 620 Rip City Radio. Fentress, you know how else? Because you and I have known each other for a long time, so I feel like I know you as well as anybody. I know how I know you felt refreshed after the season. You started fighting with people on the internet again, which I loved. I feel like by the end of the season, you're fighting on the internet.
I've been wait.
Your usage rate on fights on the internet is so down.
Yeah, it's way down.
That's what I'm saying. So you're back. You're back to fighting. You were fighting with Seahawks fans on the internet about the pictures, about the murals. I am on your side. This is some hairy high school stuff. Let's get back into it before we let you go. So Mike McDonald comes in, tears down all the murals, says we're building our new culture. Didn't say it, but said without saying. This is not like replacing some fired coach. This is replacing the greatest coach in franchise history. You say it's not going to end well. I don't know if I'm there, but I know this was a really dumb idea.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, doing that doesn't mean it's not going to end well. It just gives me funky vibes. And I'm a big history guy. I believe you got to respect history, you need to honor history. Because if you don't respect and honor history, then how can you really prop up the present? Because eventually it's going to become history. So you're being hypocritical, right? So to me, you got to respect history. So I look at it like, those things on the wall represent iconic moments in that franchise's history. Why isn't that inspirational? And then when you say we're going to, create our own moments, are you? Are you really? And if you don't, then what? And do you really need to take those down in order to create your own, moments? Why don't you just create moments and add them to the wall? Have it be part of the legacy of the Seahawks instead of taking all that stuff down. Now, this isn't a public view, right? This is all inside the VMAC. So It's not like everyone can see it. But it's just weird to me that you don't want your players walking by and seeing, photos of the greats who played, like the picture of Tyler Lockett making that corner end zone touchdown catch against the Rams. I've seen. I just got chills just thinking about it. First of all, it was an amazing play, but the photo of it, and I saw it numerous times when I was covering the Seahawks. It's just an amazing photo. Sherman tipping the pass intended for Crabtree in the NFC Championship game, and did they really take down the one of Carroll and Paul Allen with the trophy?
With the Lombardi Trophy, which I know you want to build your own thing, but it doesn't get bigger than that.
Allen, how do you let someone take down anything with your brother on it?
I'm with you,
dude. I'd be in there smacking fools around. Who took my brother off the wall? This is his team. Who took him off the wall? Bring that person to me. That's how I'd be, but maybe she signed off on it. I don't know. It just seems weird as hell to me, but, hey, that's just me.
There it is. There's the Fentress. That's what I'm ready for all spring into the summer. Hey, Fentress, thanks so much for the time. Have a great week, bud. We'll talk to you again soon.
All right, man, later.
There you go, at Aaron J. Fentress on Twitter or X. And, of course, you can read his stuff in the Oregonian Oregon Live. That is interesting. I didn't even think about it like that. I was like, what's John Schneider doing? That was my first thought. Because John Schneider, was quoted from Brady Henderson saying, yeah, we're not doing the same old stuff. We don't need to – I think he said something like we're not just going to sit and have the same old motivational phrases, which was clearly a shot at Pete Carroll. Clear. So I thought, all right, so John Schneider towards the end probably, like anybody else, maybe thought Pete was getting a little more credit, maybe didn't think he was getting enough credit. And John Schneider I've met him, I've interviewed him, super nice guy, but he's a human being. He's a human being. And if all of a sudden you're like, yeah, I'm not in that picture with the. So that's what I thought, but I didn't even think about. Did Jody Allen sign off on the taking down a picture of Paul Allen?
I'll say this:
hosting the Lombardi.
We don't know how. Well, actually, we do know from our experience. She's not a hands-on owner here. Why would she be a hands-on owner there?
I'm just I understand that we want to have our own, create our own path, but it's like there's no greater achievement than the Super Bowl.
I mean,
so it's like, why? I understand you want to create your own path, but the path ultimately leads to that place. Don't you want to say, hey, don't you want to be there? Because the idea is like, we don't want to be there. We want to be better. It's like, get better in the Super Bowl.
Do you think, because obviously, Justin, this has protruded its way all the way through social media and sports talk radio. For me, it's like, I see both sides. I'm kind of like, your point, absolutely correct, but I'm like, I also believe in like empowering a coach to do what he wants to do. So like at the same token, like where do you like for me? I'm just kind of like I land as I can see it either way, but Pete Carroll's not there anymore.
You better win. Is all I'm saying. You better win. It's a gutsy move. Going
bold
into
gamble, Cotton.
Yeah, let's see if it pays off. All right, we've got the RCM mailbag coming up next. 620 Rip City Radio. All right, before we wrap up the show, we need to get to the mailbag in a moment. I do want to throw this out. Can I tell you why I love radio? I have so many reasons why I love radio. I love doing live radio. It is because in any great, no, I'm far from great, but any person who has done this job long enough will tell you that you can sit here and do all the prep you want. You can sit here and some people will write out their takes. Clearly, I don't on this show. And you can do all the research, and you can make one. I wasn't even here to talk about sneaking food into theaters. I was just saying that I think I'm too old for it, and then it becomes a thing. And Brenden mentioned he sneaks in Sour Patch Kids. That's right, Sour Patch Skittles. And then I found out Brendan's got a whole closet, pantry, I guess I should say, full of candy.
We have a candy drawer. Like, who doesn't have a candy? Well, I know you don't, but like most people do have like a candy drawer.
My Aunt Barb, R.I.P. to Aunt Barb, had a candy drawer
See?
to die for.
That's what's up, man?
It was.
Shout out Aunt Barb.
She ran a daycare out of her house, and because I was nephew, I was not one of the. I walked around like a king. And I was like, can I go to the candy drawer? Sure can. Now the kid's like, what? It's like, yeah, because Justin's special.
You probably had a great relationship with your aunt.
Oh, I love her.
Exactly. See, she knew how to buy your love.
But I will say, I didn't realize that the sneaking the food in was going to be. Larry on X said, I watched a family bring in a full meal from McDonald's in a diaper bag.
Okay.
Full meal from McDonald's. And then
that is bold.
Comanche said, a buddy and I brought in Subway footlongs in a backpack in like '01. I don't know when in 2001. I will guarantee you it was before September, because there was a time before September of 2001 where just the world was very, very different. And it's almost impossible to explain. It
is impossible to explain.
Yeah, you just walked through a metal detector and into a gate. Did you have tickets? No. You met people at the gate at the airport.
Yeah, like it's
you just
so
walked
crazy.
through a metal detector.
Like, yeah, like I could like this.
Put your bags on the thing and you walk through the metal detector as long as.
Yeah, like just the idea that now without a ticket, I could be like, oh yeah, Justin's coming home from Mexico. I'm gonna greet him at when he gets off the plane.
Right off the plane.
And
yeah, no.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's still crazy to me.
So there's a time where you walk into a movie theater with a backpack. Nobody thought twice about it. Nobody cared one way or the other. So yeah, we have. I mentioned I had a friend of mine one time brought in a full Five Guys.
That's bold.
Footlong sandwiches.
Not brought in, but still to this day, I was told you between segments, which I feel like it's fair to say now. Things that they serve at certain movie theaters. The worst thing I've ever had is someone directly next to me eating ribs.
A rack of ribs?
Yes, full rack of ribs, and it was so I heard that pretty often for like 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's something you got to think about if you're going to have food because I understand the whole it's dinner, it's a living room theater, it's like you're watching it at home, but it's like you got to like
I think they take that too literally.
That are incredibly messy or loud probably shouldn't be on the list. But either way, full Subway footlong. Yeah. What a time. What a time to be alive. All right.
And you know what the best thing is? Last point on that, Justin?
Yeah.
I bet they were $5 or less.
Oh, I guarantee
Not like these days.
Guarantee they were $5. All right. Let's go to, what do we do? Mailbag. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go ahead and continue with this because I like this thought, Justin. What do you think is the worst food to eat, like that is a loud food but in a quiet sense? So, like, I remember when I was a freshman living in the dorms, we had a roommate that always loved to have his midnight snack. And, like, we'd be asleep, and at, like, midnight, he'd be like, yeah, I'm just going to pop open a bag of Doritos.
Yeah, chips.
Just go to town, man.
Chips are probably...
Yeah, and I'm like, huh, okay. So I've just...
This is something, and I never thought about the way I ate food. Never. Brenden, and then I met my lovely wife. And when we sit and have dinner, don't have to. I choose to, but we put music on because apparently I eat very loud. And I've managed to I used to eat super fast. I think it's because I grew up with two brothers, and so it was one of those things where if you ate fast, you could get seconds because it was kind of a first come, first serve, right? If you wanted a little more, if you wanted more chicken strips or something, right? So I just eat so fast, and I would assume the fast eating probably leads to the loud eating. But chips. It's chips.
I'm gonna throw
or
in
like something with like especially chips in a bag where the bag crinkles. And then
chips is great. I have one that I think you forgot about that you might change your opinion for.
Mm-hmm.
Corn nuts.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Or do we count that as a chip?
No, it's definitely not a chip, but it's in the snack.
Corn nuts are loud, man. I remember when I used to just snack on corn nuts, and then you realize that's not too good for your teeth to consistently just
ranch flavored corn nuts are so good.
Oh my gosh,
they are so good.
I have some.
I don't know what and the ranch fake stuff that they put on corn nuts is better than any other ranch fake stuff they put on other stuff. But something about the corn nuts and the ranch, because I've had Cool Ranch Doritos, and I hot take it. Not the Ridge cheese Doritos best. People swear by the Cool Ranch. The corn nuts ranch are so good.
I currently, at this very moment, there is a half-eaten bag of ranch corn nuts in Brendan's room.
See, this is where you and I differ. I would never have a half-eaten bag of ranch corn nuts because once I open that thing, it's going to be gone. It's not going to last.
Like last night, I'm like, okay, I got a few minutes from going to bed, have a few corn nuts, a couple handfuls, and call it a good.
Yeah, I think the combination, especially like if you're at a movie theater, the combination of noisy and smelly. Now, again, we've had this conversation before. Because for a snack, it's not the healthiest snack, but it's a healthier option. I like a good beef jerky. Now, I know it's not perfectly healthy, but it's some protein, and because I'm kind of, Southern Oregon dirtball, I love a good beef jerky. And I brought it on a plane one time, and my wife chastised me. She's like,
"Did she really?
You ever smelled beef jerky on a plane?
I've smelled beef jerky.
It's more pungent than I anticipated. But then I said, if they don't want you to bring it on the plane, why do they sell it at the Hudson News?
It wasn't anything crazy. It was like Oh Boy Alberto or Jack Links or something, like
whatever they had at the Hudson News.
That wouldn't surprise me as like a
I think she was
pungent.
She was surprised that I bought it and I put it and she's like, Are you eating jerky? I'm like,
interesting.
Why would they sell it at the Hudson News? All right. Fantastic show, everybody. Thanks to Aaron Fentress. Thanks to super producer Brenden. And thanks to all of you. Have a terrific Monday. We'll talk to you again tomorrow morning here on 620 Rip City Radio.